The night was colder than usual, but Ada didn't feel it. She stood frozen at the edge of the bed, staring at the door. She could hear it. Something moving on the other side. Slow, deliberate footsteps. A soft creak. Then silence. Her breath hitched. Her heart pounded so loud she was sure he could hear it. She wanted to grab her phone, call someone, anyone. But it wasn't there. The last time she saw it, it was on the table in the living room where he was. Then the footsteps started again, moving closer. Ada pressed her back against the wall. She had to think. She had to get out.
Before we continue, please take a moment to subscribe to my channel for awesome stories.
It all started like a normal conversation. A message on Instagram from a guy named David. David, "Hey, Ada, you're beautiful." She had smiled at the message, shaking her head. Another one. She got those all the time. But there was something about his profile. He looked responsible. His pictures were clean, decent. No shirtless gym selfies or stacks of money spread out on a bed. Just normal photos. A picture of him at a restaurant. Another one at a wedding, dressed in a suit. She didn't reply immediately, but the next day he sent another message. David, "Good morning, Ada. Hope you slept well?" She replied this time. Just a simple, "Yes, thanks." And that was how it started. David was smooth. He didn't rush. He asked about her day, made jokes, sent memes. He paid attention to little things she said. When she mentioned she liked shawarma, he joked that he would personally deliver one to her doorstep. She liked him. He seemed different. After a week of talking every day, he finally asked, "Can we see this weekend? Let's have dinner. I promise I won't bore you." Ada hesitated. She wasn't the type to meet online guys so quickly. But David had been sweet. "Ada, okay. Where are we going?" "David, why don't you come over instead? I'll cook for you. I make the best pasta in Lagos." She almost said no, but he added, "I live alone. No drama, no distractions, just a peaceful dinner." That sounded nice. A quiet dinner. No noisy restaurant. Just them. Ada, "All right, but if your food is bad, I'm leaving." David sent a laughing emoji. "Fair deal." She didn't know that night would change everything. Saturday came faster than she expected. Ada dressed casually, jeans and a nice top, nothing too flashy. She took a Bolt to his place, a quiet apartment on the mainland. David met her at the gate, smiling like they had known each other forever. He was even more handsome in person. Tall, neatly dressed, nice cologne. He led her inside and she looked around. His house was clean, neat, no weird smells, no suspicious things lying around. The food was already ready, pasta with creamy sauce and grilled chicken. It smelt delicious. "I told you I can cook," he teased as he set the table. Ada laughed. She felt comfortable. They ate, talked and laughed. Everything was going well, until she started feeling sleepy. It didn't make sense. She wasn't tired when she got there. "Are you okay?" David asked. "Yeah, just sleepy," she mumbled. "Maybe you should rest a bit," he suggested. "The couch is right there." She shook her head. "No, I should go home." But her body wasn't listening. Her eyes were closing on their own. The last thing she remembered was David watching her, his face calm, too calm. Then, darkness. Ada's eyes snapped open. The room was dimly lit. Her head was heavy, like she had been drugged. She tried to sit up, but something wasn't right. She wasn't on the couch anymore. She was on a bed, David's bed. Her stomach turned. She sat up quickly, looking around. Her bag was on the floor. Her shoes were gone. Where was David? She stood up, her legs wobbling. She grabbed her phone from her bag, but it was off. She pressed the power button. Nothing. Panic set in. Then she heard it. The sound of the door unlocking. David stepped in, his face unreadable. "You're awake," he said simply. Ada's throat was dry. "What happened?" "You were tired," he said, shrugging. "You slept." She glanced at the clock on the wall. It was 2:37 a.m. Her heart dropped. "I need to go home," she said, forcing calmness into her voice. David leaned against the door. "It's late. You should stay till morning." "No, I need to go now." She moved toward the door, but he didn't move. He just stared at her. Her hands trembled. "David, please, I need to go." A slow smile spread across his face. "Ada, relax. I'm not going to hurt you." She didn't believe him. She took a deep breath. "I need to use the bathroom." His eyes flickered with something, but he stepped aside. "It's the first door on the left." Ada walked out quickly, her mind racing. She didn't go to the bathroom. She went straight to the living room, grabbed her shoes, and ran to the front door. It was locked. Panic shot through her. She fumbled with the lock, twisting, turning. Nothing. She turned around, and David was there, watching her. She backed up. "Please, open the door," he sighed, shaking his head. "Ada, you're overreacting." Her hands balled into fists. "David, open the door." His face hardened. "And if I don't?" Her stomach twisted. Her eyes darted to the window. It was closed, but not locked. She bolted. She reached the window and struggled to push it up. David grabbed her wrist. Fear exploded in her chest. "Let me go!" His grip tightened. "Ada, stop acting crazy." She kicked him. Hard. He let go with a grunt. She yanked the window open and scrambled through, landing hard on the ground outside. She didn't stop. She ran. She ran barefoot down the street, heart pounding, breath ragged. She didn't look back. She made it home that night. Safe. But she couldn't sleep. She couldn't shake off the fear. The way he had watched her, controlled her. Her friends asked what happened. She told them everything. And that's when she found out. Ada wasn't the first. David had done this before, many times. But nobody talked about it because they were too ashamed. She wasn't ashamed. She warned every woman she knew. Never visit a man at his house, not alone, not when you barely know him. Because some men are not what they seem. And some nights, you might not be lucky enough to escape. Ada didn't sleep that night. She lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, her mind replaying everything over and over. The food, the way she got so sleepy so fast, the way David's face had changed when she tried to leave. She kept checking her phone, but she didn't know what she was expecting. A message from David? An apology? A threat? Nothing came. By morning, she decided to tell her best friend, Zainab. When Zainab picked up, Ada's voice was shaky. "Z, I think something really bad almost happened to me last night." Zainab was fully awake in seconds. "What happened? Are you okay?" Ada told her everything. The moment she finished, Zainab was silent for a long time. Then she said something that made Ada's stomach drop. "Ada? I know this guy." Ada's hands turned cold. "What do you mean, you know him?" Zainab sighed. "Don't know him personally, but I've heard of him. My cousin's friend Tolu went through the same thing. Same guy. She met him online, went to his house, blacked out after eating, but when she woke up, she wasn't just in his bed, Ada. She was..." She hesitated. Ada's heartbeat quickened. "Zainab, just say it." She was naked. Ada felt like she had been punched in the stomach. Zainab continued. Tolu was so confused, she didn't remember anything. She only knew something was wrong because when she got home, she started feeling pain. Down there. Ada covered her mouth. She wanted to report him, but she was too scared. She thought nobody would believe her. And when she finally told someone, the person told her it was her fault for going to a man's house. She shut down after that. A wave of nausea hit Ada. That could have been me. She clutched her stomach, feeling sick. "How many other girls?" she whispered. "I don't know," Zainab said. But Tolu wasn't the only one. Ada wasn't the kind of person to keep quiet. She had always believed that silence protected the wrong people. And she wasn't about to let David get away with this. She opened her Instagram and started typing. "Ladies, be careful. I almost got drugged last night by a guy named David. He invites women over for dinner, puts something in their food, and when they wake up, they don't remember what happened. I was lucky, but I've heard stories of other girls who weren't." She took a deep breath and pressed post. Within minutes, her DMs exploded. "OMG, this happened to me too. I just never told anyone. My friend went through the same thing, but she was too ashamed to report it. I know this guy. He's been doing this for years. The comments kept coming. It wasn't just Ada. It wasn't just Tolu. David was a predator, and he had been doing this for a long time. Not everyone was supportive. Some people blamed Ada. Why did you go to his house? You put yourself in that situation. This is why girls should stop visiting men. Use your brain. You wanted free food and now you're complaining? But Ada didn't let it get to her. She focused on the real messages, the girls who had been too scared to speak, the ones who finally found the courage to tell their stories. She and Zainab contacted Tolu, and together they made a decision. They were going to report David. Ada didn't expect David to react so quickly. That night she got a message from an unknown number. "Take down that post," it wrote. Her stomach clenched. "Who is this?" Ada asked, feeling frightened. "You know who. Take it down before you regret it," the unknown number ordered. Ada's hands shook, but she forced herself to type. "I'm not afraid of you, David," she fired back. He didn't reply. But the next morning, she woke up to another message. This time it was a voice note. She hesitated before playing it. David's voice was calm, too calm. "Ada, you should be careful. You don't know who you're messing with." Chills ran down her spine. She blocked the number immediately, but she knew one thing. David was scared, and that meant she was winning. With Tolu's help, Ada and Zainab gathered all the stories from other victims. They went to the police with screenshots, voice notes, and messages. The officer on duty barely looked interested. "So you're saying he drugged you but nothing happened?" he asked, raising an eyebrow. Ada clenched her fists. "He drugged me and I escaped, but other girls weren't so lucky." The officer sighed. "Do you have proof? Did any of the girls do a medical test after?" Tolu's voice was small. "No." The officer leaned back. "Then it's your word against his." Ada's stomach dropped. So this is why he keeps getting away with it. She refused to give up. "Fine, if you won't do anything, I'll take this to social media, to the news, to every single person who will listen." The officer sighed. He could see Ada wasn't joking. "Okay, we'll look into it." Ada knew that was just police talk. So she took matters into her own hands. David thought he was untouchable, until one of the biggest Instagram pages picked up Ada's story. Then a journalist reached out. Then more victims started coming forward. Within days, David's name was everywhere. People started recognizing him. Some of his friends distanced themselves. And then, one of his past victims, a girl who had moved abroad, came forward with proof. She had medical records, a report from years ago that had been ignored. This time, the police had no choice. David was arrested. Ada sat in her room, scrolling through the comments on her latest post. "Thank you for speaking out. You saved so many girls from falling into his trap. Because of you, I will never visit a man at his house again." She smiled a little. It hadn't been easy. People had doubted her, blamed her, mocked her, but in the end she had done the right thing. And most importantly, she had survived. Some girls didn't. Some girls never got the chance to escape. So she had one final message for every woman out there. Never visit a man at his house. Not when you barely know him. Not when you're alone. Some men are not what they seem. And some nights, you might not be lucky enough to escape.
Thanks for watching. Please subscribe to my channel for more.